Okay, we're live.
Hey everyone, how's it going?
We're back in the same room together.
Yeah, how long? Just 1 week.
Yeah, 1 week. Why did that happen? My bad. So we are supposed to have a guest today, and his name is Mike Ruffing. So I don't know if he's going to join us. If he joins us, he's a business owner, so things come up. So we'll see if he actually comes on.
If not, we'll have you on soon.
Yeah, Mike.
Maybe next week or the week
No
after.
worries, we understand. And look, we have a guest.
We have S'mores in the house, visiting from Las Vegas.
Look, S'mores, it's you. Ah, good boy, girl.
Yeah, girl, both
girl.
girls.
Okay, I know. S'mores, it's okay. Lupe is gonna be so upset. Next week we're gonna have Lupe. Well, I'm not gonna be here next week. Oh my gosh, cuties! Oh! Getting licked all over. Anyways, this was not planned. We did not plan to have doggies as our guest, but I guess.
Well, I guess we have two guests today.
Two guests.
They can't really speak our lingo, but they're hearing moral support.
Man. So we were planning to talk to Mike. So unfortunately, we didn't plan a topic for this week. But I think I want to talk about. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I want to talk. I kind of want to hear your story about this. I mean, you don't need to disclose who the client is, but that you're just speaking to right now, and then how you're trying to onboard them.
Yeah. So I do want to talk. We did talk previously about processes and like how that.
Wait. Before
we go anywhere, what?
Dive into business.
Mm-hmm.
Let's dive into the AF part.
Yes.
I want to hear about your weekend because you didn't finish the story.
What do you mean? My story
about Sunday with the soccer game that
I
didn't attend. I kind of regret not going now. Just for the drinking part.
Okay, so the reason why we wanted to start this podcast was also to showcase other people's passions outside of the business. So give some value when it comes to business, but also talk about why people do what they do. Why are they in business for themselves? What are they passionate about outside of work? Because I feel that really does bond us together as people. Oh, there he is.
No, yeah. The guest is there or here.
Hi, Mike.
Hey guys, how are you?
I'm gonna. I have to hear you here. Hold on. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you.
Good.
Hey, Mike,
awesome.
How's it going, Chris?
Not too bad, Chris. How about yourself?
Good.
Cool. All right. So we were just talking that we were planning on having you on, and you weren't on yet, and we were like, okay, well, we'll just talk about our weekends. So let me go back a little bit. One of the reasons why we wanted to start this podcast was one to give people an insight into business and all the processes that we need to do, and what are our businesses about, and kind of grow together in that sense, but also talk about people's passions outside of work. And so Chris and I have hung out a few times outside of a work setting. And actually probably bonded at Startup Week where it wasn't business related events. And so I invited Chris to come watch soccer with me and a few of my 20 closest friends that watch the same team every Sunday or every weekend. And let's fix the... So I went, and we'll get into your introduction in a little bit. So on Sunday morning, I went to watch my team, which is Arsenal, play a huge game. It was basically a rivalry game, for those who don't know. And so I was just looking at my pictures, and I had a picture of shots at 8:30 in the morning. So that was my weekend, and I was probably home by noon. I think I was home by noon and ready to take a nap and just kind of reset my Sunday. But that's, those things I do, with my friends, and, really kind of make me want to be a better business owner so that I can enjoy those things more often. And you're not, as a business owner, you have passions outside of work, right? in your case, your kids, or playing golf and stuff, which I learned last week. So yeah, we just wanted to give a little bit of insight into our lives outside of the work stuff. So are we going live? Oh, go live. Okay, so we are going to talk about you, and then also talk about your business, where you see yourself going in the near future, and then also a little bit about your passion. So if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Mike, to those who may be watching now or on the replay.
Sure. So my name is Mike Ruffing. I own Problem Solvers Consultants. We're a digital marketing agency based on the East Coast in wild and wonderful West Virginia. So like Marissa, like you said, I do have a lot of passions. I have a soon-to-be 6-year-old, and I love to play golf. So my agency is definitely a way for me to be able to get to do more of those things, without a doubt.
Right. And how long have you been having this business? Your business?
So started my agency in 2012. So this will be year 7.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
We are very happy to have you on, because you could probably give us a lot of insight into business ups and downs and struggles. I want to talk a little bit about how you and I met. We met through
Social media marketing world.
Yeah, through Hova.
Yeah.
The way I met Chris.
Hova.
Hova,
whatever you call it.
I'm gonna call it Hova. I think it's Hova, but I call it Hova. Anyways,
He's a Jay-Z fan, so it's got to be Hova.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So like Social Media Marketing World had the same app that we had for Startup Week, and they had a group for Pittsburgh only, or Pittsburgh like people that are in like social media or whatever. I'm not from Pittsburgh, but when the app was released, I was in Pittsburgh. My family's from Pittsburgh, or my mom's from Pittsburgh. A lot of cousins are from there. And I really just identify with that whole like Pittsburghese mentality. So I was like, yeah, I'm connecting with these people.
So we adopted her. We took her in under our
wing.
She has better weather than we do.
Yeah.
I don't hold it against her, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then I think we didn't really like plan to meet, but then I saw you in a session.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We sat one row apart from each other, right behind each other, and got to meet each other that way, and it just kind of worked out.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It was really cool. So thank you for joining us again. What is your
look at that, like the internet can bring people together.
It does. So
it really is about making connections.
It is. This is a testament to it.
When you do it right.
Yeah, right. So do you have any do you specialize in specific, I know you said digital marketing agency, and we've kind of covered this on different shows, but do you specialize in any style of business or like type of client?
Yep. So all we work with is specifically small businesses with less than 10 employees.
Okay.
That's our only agency work that we do. My background is I spent 18 years in corporate marketing and operations. So whenever I left my last corporation, I worked for Advanced Auto Parts for over 11 and a half years. And when I left there, I had almost 200 people, and I swore I would never do that again, because that's how you end up with no hair left, and you have to wear a hat all the time.
Right.
So my agency was more, it was born out of necessity. I had a couple of friends of mine, and I worked for a mentorship group called SCORE, where we would mentor clients, and we did a lot of free work, and eventually it just came to the point where a lot of the people that were in SCORE said, you just need to get paid to do this, because just coaching people on it isn't enough. And essentially I was literally forced, because I was given a check and said I needed to have an LLC in order to open a checking account to process the check.
Oh, wow.
So I was quite literally forced to start my agency.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And I kept my day job, and I had the agency for the first two and a half years while I had my day job, which was a great thing. You were talking about some struggles and trials and tribulations.
Yeah.
My first year, we lost $78,000.
Wow.
So it was a really good thing that I had a good paying day job.
Right.
So, because otherwise my wife probably would have divorced me. and I'd be in a much different boat today if that was the case. So,
Right.
Could I ask? So, how did you lose $78,000 as a digital marketing startup?
you know, a lot of it was in, like I said, I came from the world where if we needed something or we wanted to execute a strategy, we had it. And then, you know, whenever I started doing things on my own, and I started very quickly seeing that, you know, the costs of, you know, split testing software like at Espresso at $1,500 a year, and then, you know, all the different expenses for software, and then, you know, I slowly by my standard, but quickly by most people's standard, built a team, and then I had to train them. So I spent a lot of money in online education and training for team members, because we would hire copywriters, and they were great for writing copy for magazines or for different books, but they didn't necessarily understand social media. So I was buying, you know, specifically copywriting around what their job was. Same thing with graphic designers. They could design, you know, web pages, and they could design a lot of, you know, print, but they couldn't necessarily design at the proper speed for social media and for different things. So I invested a lot of money there. Media marketing world was another one.
Yeah.
You know, I take me and Karen, my second in command, and sometimes another person. By the time you take flights and hotels and everything else, I mean, that cost me $10,000 for every one of those we go to.
Right.
You know, we didn't have any equipment, so that first year we were buying. You know, we bought 2 cameras. We bought, you know, so we bought a half a dozen lenses. We were buying memory cards. You know, 4 laptops, a Surface, 2 iPads. I mean, when you, it doesn't seem like it because we take a lot of that stuff for granted. But when you get to the end of the year, like I said, and I wasn't probably as studious since I had a day job at paying attention to the expenses that were going out compared to the income that was coming in.
Right.
And you know, when you're all said and done with it, I mean, it put us in a really good spot going forward, because I have very lean expenses now.
Right.
But I ate them all up front to make sure we could put together a good product on the table, because I think that's a lot of what we do. It's what it's about. If you can't put something out there that gets people to interact with it, and, you know, the quality is not where it needs to be, I don't think the agency would have sustained itself this long.
Right. And you could bring up a good point. All these things that are like I've been using this analogy in the last couple of weeks, is like bottom of the iceberg, like all the stuff you don't see. And then all these business owners are like, oh, like I want to be like this person, like what they see on social, but they don't see all of the work that they had to, that you or your team or me or even him, he's in UI UX, like design, coding. I don't know how to say it simply.
Yeah, just like it's user interface, user experience, also being able to develop the website or application needed for the client.
Right. And that's what people see. They see like a really cool website, or they see like a nice curated like YouTube channel or whatever. They don't realize like all the stuff that you've had to buy and what adds up into like the cost, right? So like if you're gonna do it on your own, like you had to for that first year, $78,000, that's more expensive than hiring a consultant or someone like you or someone like me to pay a monthly retainer of, you know, $3,000-$4,000, whatever it is. And that's cheaper than having to buy all the stuff, right? Like same with like potentially, I'm sure with you, with all the software that you have to do, that you have to implement and all the tools and stuff like that. So I'm glad you said the number, because hopefully someone's watching this eventually and is like, oh yeah, I don't want to invest the $78,000 right
now. And it depends like what business you're in. Like like fortunately I don't have to invest that much money other than good computers, and that's about it. We can work anywhere.
Right.
And then, but just also like our own server space, but that's about it. But then a lot of the costs come from the clients.
True, but your intellectual property, the stuff you know, costs a lot. How much did you invest in your career, in your skill set, all of that, you know, certification stuff to get you?
That's over 6 figures. That's for sure.
That's for sure. So, Mike, I want to pivot just a little bit into like maybe, you know, that was your struggle, and now you built an agency, you're fully on your own, you're able to travel, go to social media marketing world. What do you foresee for problem solvers, consultants, like in the future, in the next year or so?
I mean, we're almost at capacity right now.
Mhm.
We set a cap. We don't work with more than 20 customers at a time,
Mhm.
so that's our cap, and we're pretty much there. We just onboarded 3 new clients last week, and we have 2 more to do this week, and that's going to put us 1 short of capacity. So we're
Mhm.
kind of at I don't want to call it the cruise control point,
Yeah.
but I'm not one of those people that wants to be a household name. I don't like this is tough for me to be doing this, so I'm not a huge fan of being out there in front of people. But
Yeah.
really, the I think where our growth comes from isn't necessarily going to be monetary.
Mhm.
We spent the last year or so cultivating some relationships. I've actually been teaching some social media and some marketing classes at some local colleges and
Mhm.
universities.
Mhm.
And I just had a conversation about becoming an adjunct professor at Fairmont State. And I think that that'll probably be where my next steps go,
Mhm.
just as a way to give back, and I think help some of the people coming up to
Mhm.
avoid some of the mistakes, and just to help teach them some of the things.
Yeah.
Because realistically, university, even though they are starting to come on board, I think we all know at the rate that things change, by the time they put it in a book, it's already outdated.
Right. Right.
And so being able to, I think, help them with the practical, with the here and now is going to
Mhm.
be my next step that I really want to spend time with, because my team does a really great job with our clients and with our customers. So I
Yeah.
don't spend too much time there, which is a win.
Yeah, I mean, that brings up a good point, because I have taught locally here at USD, and I taught basically the course that I took that made me realize, okay, I need to focus on social. Um, but the curriculum that I went through 2 years ago is way different than like what I had to build to like do a 4-week course on social media. It's
Mhm.
like changes all the time, and you almost need someone, a trusted resource like yourself or me or whoever, to like guide you through that, as things change, because it's no longer just like setting up a Facebook page, right? Like, which is what it was like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, depending on, you need more than that, right? So what
Yeah.
do you see, like, what are the trends in terms of this industry? What do you foresee coming up in the next like 6 months?
Well, I think the biggest pieces are, and Chris, you even touched on it earlier. It's just you have to interact with people. Too many businesses think that it's just another way to put a newspaper ad. Let's just put it on social media. Here's my stuff. Buy my stuff. Here's what's coming up. Here's events that are important to me. So you like us. So these should be important to you. And then they post it, and then they leave it, and they forget it and never do anything with it.
Mhm.
And really at the core of what we help them do is our team actually helps engage their potential customers, and actually comments on the posts that they write, and
Mhm.
make sure that whenever customers leave a comment, that somebody answers them or thanks them or
Mhm.
answers their question or asks them a question.
Right.
um, we spend a lot of time. It's the new buzz, right? User generated content. So we
Right.
spend a lot of time. People don't understand, well, how do I get people to give it to me? We have to ask them for it.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Right.
not all that hard. But then when they send it to you, you have to do something with it. You have
Right.
to, thank them for sending it. You have to use it in a campaign. You have to,
Mhm.
highlight it or spotlight it somewhere and show them, so then they can be excited and share it with their friends.
Right.
And there's too many businesses that not only don't understand, but really don't want to. They
Right.
want it to be just another way. If I give you money, I should be able to do whatever I want and put my message out there. And realistically, the platforms will take your money,
Yeah.
but from a return and actually getting something for your money, it
Right.
takes a lot more. Your iceberg analogy is perfect to see,
Yeah.
what it takes on the back end of a copywriter actually looking
Mhm.
to see, what terms and phrases will get somebody to engage or to do something.
Right.
And then how do you have, what type of video do you produce, or what kind of image do you make that
Mhm.
stops people from scrolling, that will then get them to engage with that copy?
Right.
And once they do, what do you do with it? Is there somebody there that's monitoring it, that can comment and respond real time, and not wait 3 hours to respond to hey, what time are you guys open till today, when they
Right.
comment on your post?
Oh, yeah. Super. And that's like one of the most annoying things. Like, if you have
Mhm.
a Facebook page and I'm reaching out, are you open for this? And you don't get back to me, I'm like, like, you need someone on that all the
Yeah.
time, Not
I,
maybe not all the time, or have an automated message. Like, go to the, check our hours or something, and I think people are like very like, oh, look at my stuff, buy my stuff, I put it on, it doesn't work, but they never looked at the data.
Well, and I stay on the fence because I do think at a bare minimum, people should be building either automated responses or chat bots to answer those easy questions.
Right.
If you have a restaurant, people are going to ask, what time are you open? They know, you're going to ask, what kind of food do you have? Like, these are easy automated responses.
Right. Exactly.
I personally, and with our clients, I would still rather have a person answer.
Yeah.
I've had too many, we'll call them mediocre experiences with chatbots to this point, where they may get the job done, but sometimes they get lost. And then what happens is then they go to transfer you to a person because they hit that roadblock and they know that the bot is done. And then there's nobody there to answer me anyway.
Right.
So if you rely on the chatbot, I at least in my personal opinion, I think it's created more issues for businesses than it's solved, unless it's a large scale business, to just eliminate some of those easy, frequently asked questions. And then you still have somebody there to answer on the back end. But for most small businesses, if you have somebody there on the back end, you probably don't even have the need for the chatbot.
Right. Exactly.
Actually, that's funny that we're talking about chatbots. So one of my clients were implementing a chatbot system on their website because they are losing. They're having people fall off. So it's like a long survey they have to go through before even creating an account on their website. So we're thinking, because a lot of people aren't calling, and they want people to call or at least be more engaged in the application. So they are hiring someone to just be on the other side of the chatbot system to answer these questions for them, instead of going with an AI approach.
Yeah.
I guess we're going to test it because we're just trying to stick as agile as possible.
Yeah.
Or be as agile as possible, and then see if it works for a few weeks. And if it doesn't, then we'll toss it out the door. But just see how it works for us.
And I think that's a good method, like agile method, which is kind of what we've implemented for this podcast. It's like, hey, let's, invite guests. Let's, see what works. Let's see what we're talking about. And then, you got to move with the industry and move with what you're testing, which we tried Facebook last week, and now we're like back on YouTube. We want to do YouTube, and we feel it could be more valuable.
Yeah, it reaches more people than because right now the way that Facebook is, we have it in the Facebook group. So I think
he's in the group.
Okay, like about 150 members or so.
Yeah.
So that's.
But you have to join the Facebook group to watch the video, right? Versus just watch the video and hear your story, hear our story, hear our expertise. So you want to talk about his side passions?
Yeah,
he's into golf. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not great at golf. I'll play it, but
those are my only stipulations. As long as you can have a good time and enjoy yourself on the golf course, there's no throwing golf clubs. Other than that, I'm good.
Well, it's a good time for drinking.
That too. Yeah. I didn't know if we were PG-13, but that's another stipulation is you have to be able to have an adult beverage.
Yeah.
So, it's a good beer drinking sport.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. So you talked about turning passions into what you do. So we actually created a spin-off of Problem Solvers that it still works under the same, but we actually do digital for golf courses across the country.
Oh, wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we help them with social media. We help them with some of their online advertising. We help them with some of their funnels for private clubs. And realistically, it's an excuse for me to just go play golf is what it is. Because those are the worst business trips to go on when your client owns and runs a golf course. It makes it really hard to want to do anything else. So.
I understand. But do you get the perks of working with golf courses, or?
We do. Almost every time we show up to shoot content on site, we get to play at least once.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I get to tell my wife that I'm working, so that's always a win.
Yeah, I used to do social media for a soccer club here locally, so I was working, but also I wouldn't do it though. I don't want to do it long term. Like I used to think that I wanted to work in what I'm passionate about, but I just lose passion for the game itself because I'm working. Does that make sense?
And I think I would agree with you, though. I think if I had to do all the back end work, I mean, essentially I'm on site just shooting the content. So like the editing and all the work is all done by the team on the back end. So I'm literally just out there enjoying sunshine, green grass, and playing golf with a bunch of guys and shooting video and images. And then I get to turn it over. So I think the tedious part
actually.
and the work I don't have to do anymore. So to me, it was like the perfect storm.
I think it was, well, it was such a small club that like we were really banking on like attendance and like, you know, people coming, and like we had a good online presence and like we had hype, but people wouldn't come to the game. And so like you'd be so excited because your Facebook's active, you have all these people interested, you have like people going to your website, people want to know, they're tweeting about it, and then you get to the game day and you're like, where's everyone, you know? And then that became your main reason for, you know, watching the game. It's like you weren't excited about watching the game anymore. You were like, oh my God, they got a score. Or like we went on like a 4-loss like run, and then our attendance dropped off. So it was like, dude, just win so we can get people here. Like, how can you get people to the game if you're losing, you know? And so my excitement for the industry like dwindled a little bit because it was attached to like winning, you know, and we were losing. So it was not good. It was not good. So yeah, okay, so you say you're problem solvers consultants, and then you're doing golf for like digital marketing for golf. You have like a separate brand for that? Have you set up one, or are you ever thinking about doing that?
Yeah, so it's branded separately. It works it's still under the umbrella of problem solvers. It's branded Go For It, FORE as in four. They have their own Facebook, social media. They do their own content. So it is branded by itself, and it does well. Go For It has a booth at the PGA show every year in January down in Florida. So Chris, you were asking about cost. That does it real quick.
Right.
Our cost for that is like $22,000 just for the PGA show every year.
Wow.
But yeah,
that's right, just to be there, right? Like not like hotels and stuff.
No, that's my total all in. We have a 10x10 booth, and then we have a TV and some other stuff that are set up, and we do a putting contest. And we have they're called caddy girls that come down, and we have a pretty good booth, I would say, for a really small company at the PGA show. So, but yeah, it does all its own work, its own brand and everything. So
cool.
And then do you see traction with that?
So we do. Really, what it does more than anything is it fills top funnel for us. Because of if we were to try to spend across the country, even with targeted advertising, it would cost us significantly more. Because the decision makers, and we found this out early on, the decision makers in golf vary a lot. It's not like, for Marissa, for me and you, for B2B, we would target C-levels, right? Or we would target or somebody making that decision to sign the check. Well, believe it or not, most of the owners of the golf course don't make that decision. And the people who do, they have odd titles. Like there's some that are general managers that make the marketing decision. And then sometimes the general manager doesn't have anything to do with it. The golf pro does. And we found that every course did it differently. And there really wasn't, at least we haven't found yet, a really good way to target them. So we do 2 or 3 big golf events a year, either for the PGA show, or we do different PGA section events for some of the larger PGA sections. And that's really how we found that we got to be in touch with and meet the decision maker. And then essentially it's still our top funnel, because they have no idea who we are. They don't know what we do, but at least we get them in the right place where we can then get them in and get them to our website and start to fill out, and we get their information just to be able to start them down the path of who we are and how we could help them, so that they can kind of see it, because it's also an antiquated industry that really doesn't understand and really doesn't utilize digital for most cases.
Yeah, one time I worked for a company like 5 years ago, and one of the sister companies was called Whole High, and they just focus on like advertising with the flags that go into the holes. They're focusing on that, and
Have you heard of,
We're getting sponsors on that.
speaking of flags, have you heard of any or worked with any foot golf courses?
I have not, and I actually not foot golf, but I have a very good friend that plays disc golf,
Okay.
and he
Yeah.
loves it. And every week I see he's playing somewhere else,
Yeah.
and it is. I think it's a creative way between disc golf and foot golf to get other people involved that don't necessarily like traditional golf. I
Yeah.
think it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, foot golf is, soccer and golf together. And so like, I actually have done a few foot golf events here locally for charity, because we are involved in soccer, and then the golf course has low turnout, so they want to do these events, that brings in other people. But that's like a whole nother avenue that I think now with like golf as a sport, I think, I don't know, maybe you might know better than me, but I don't think it's that prevalent now. I think less people are playing golf. I don't know. Maybe where you are, they are playing, but not here in San Diego. I don't know.
I think you would be the actual national numbers are showing it growing again. There was about a 4 or 5 year span that golf was on a decline, but it wasn't. It really wasn't a huge decline. The issue that we have here in the States that internationally didn't happen was in the States we built too many golf courses too fast. So from a private golf industry, we couldn't sustain with the people that had the ability to become members. You know, when you look at the number of people that could afford to spend the money that it takes to join a private club at the rate that they opened, we just didn't produce enough people with enough money. It's almost like that, how that middle class is shrinking. It killed, and the golf course industry didn't see that, and they grew at an unexpected rate, and they opened more clubs than they ever should have.
Right.
But housing developers were opening golf courses so they could sell more houses and sell more property at a higher rate. It was another perfect storm of things that they just decided to do. So from a recreational person's perspective, you see all these golf courses are closing, and you see all this stuff, and it's not necessarily because the industry's bad. I mean, the industry is I forget what the number is, but it's like a $12.5 billion industry.
Wow.
I mean, it's the money's there. It's just in certain places. And I play a lot of SoCal golf, by the way. Every time I come out there, I got to enjoy that weather somehow. Yeah,
San Diego. Down here.
Well, and maybe it's because it's the prevalence of the golf courses that I go around. Like there's one like near my veterinarian's office, and it's like yellow grass and like doesn't look like there's anyone. And I think it's, part drought, part, not a lot of people there, but it's like, I'm like, this is sad because there's all this green land, and I'm like, I want it to be used properly, but it just like looks like a ghost town, and it's like, man.
Well, let me ask this. So you said for 4 or 5 years, the golf industry was dying out a little bit. Do they have conclusions as to why?
Well, so the 4 or 5 years that it was down, it was down off an all-time high. So, and I don't know, Chris, I don't know how old you are, but in the late 90s when Tiger came out, golf went from being the upper middle class to white collar sport to everybody can play. And from 1998 to I think it's like 2011, when Tiger really ruled the sport of golf, the number of golfers, both recreational and private, grew exponentially faster than it ever had before. From a TV viewership, from an actual playing perspective, the industry as a whole, the number was something staggering. It was like 12,000% they grew in that 12 years or something. So
Tiger Woods was.
I think it was a combination of Tiger and the sport as a whole changing some of what they did. I think social media helped them a lot. I think just being able to have brand personalities and not just TV commercials really helped them grow. And Tiger was at the forefront of it. But if you look today, even where they're at, every single golfer, and the LPGA Tour actually did the best job of this, was using social media to grow a brand. The LPGA about 8 or 9 years ago was almost bankrupt and going to close and go out of business.
Oh, wow.
And they brought in a I want to say Craig Kahn he was either vice president of marketing or he had some title that was related to marketing, and he was the vice president, second in command for the LPGA. And that was the two biggest things that he impressed on them is, one, all of the female golfers had to learn how to speak English, because if you were going to grow your viewer base in the States, the Korean contingent had to be able to communicate with the US fans. And the second thing they had to do was everybody had to be active on social media. It was actually part of their player contract with the LPGA, was they had to create content, they had to be active, and they had to grow their own brand for their own monetary purposes, but also the LPGA brand. And if you look at it today, it's significantly stronger, and they actually operate completely on their own now. And for that reason, and Craig Kahn actually now has a private consultancy where he teaches a lot of how they made that transition and went from being almost out of commission to being one of the most prevalent tours in the world.
Wow, that's really interesting info. I need to do research now.
And he did it during that downturn in golf. That's
really?
That's the even stronger part to what the LPGA was able to do, because theirs has been in that last 8 or 9 years when everybody else, like I said, they're down off an all-time high, but they were still seeing a little slide, and the LPGA was able to make it better than anybody else. And from a case study perspective on being able to use digital to really, to essentially, I mean, they stopped a failing, multi-million-dollar business, and that was the two staples of what they changed.
Wow, that's really interesting. Case studies, they really help you. So do you have anything else you want to talk about golf?
No, it's just interesting to know.
I know.
He has a lot of domain knowledge.
Yes, domain
I spend a lot of time in that domain. If my swing was better, it might be okay, but I spend a lot of time in the digital side of it and less in the real life swinging the club side.
Yeah, what's that place that it's? Oh my God, it's a huge business. It's a place where you just go hit balls.
Topgolf.
Topgolf.
Yep.
Have you been there?
Oh my God, that is crazy. That business is insane.
Yep.
I mean,
I wish I would have thought about it.
Every golf course, you can do this at every golf course, but they just where you can just drive the ball. That's all it is.
And I mean, so you made a perfect example of it, though. So all they did was reinvent and gamify the driving range.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did. Is they took a dying business which was driving ranges, because nobody would go and use them and pay for buckets of balls. Right. And they used gamification and made it fun, and they brought food and beverage into it, and now it's the same thing. It's growing leaps and bounds.
Right.
They just opened, I think, 4 new Topgolfs in the last 2 months.
Yeah, it's actually pretty fun.
I've never been. Maybe that's our next live.
You definitely should go. I actually have Topgolf gift cards in my wallet. I would love.
Okay, I'll send you my address.
I'll send you one. You should definitely go and enjoy it.
Yeah, it's fun. You get the drinks going. It's like golf, but at a driving range. You get to have your few beers, and
you don't have to worry about crashing a golf cart at Topgolf.
Yeah, that's the fun part, though.
Oh my God, Chris, this is the misfit of the two of us. Chris is the misfit.
So no, actually, my friend, when we were back in college, he was a caddy, and then at the end of the night, or we used to go. That's how I started golfing. Was because he would get us in for free on the times when it was dead, and or it wasn't busy, and so after a few drinks, we're also underage. We're like 19 at the time. Because he used to open up the cart for us, with the alcohol cart, and then we take some alcohol with us. And,
oh my God!
And then we
underage drinking. Yeah. We don't promote this.
I was gonna say PSA. Everybody in this video is over 21 and is
yes.
Drink.
So it was just a fun time.
Yeah.
And then that's how I got into it. Though it was fun, and then he would actually give us free lessons as well.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's a win.
2 for 1.
Yeah.
2 for 1. Cool.
So, also about your business, for your clients, when you first, so your company is now, I'm sure, much more mature than what it was, 7 years ago. So when you first started, were you trying to get any client on board? And now are you more picky, or are you still kind of like in the same realm where you're just trying to work with any type of client that comes your way?
So I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but from a lot of the people that I talked to, we were different from the beginning. we always made sure that anybody that we worked with, even those people that I was mentoring, they had a successful business and they had a successful product or service. So we've always stayed away from what I call the sinking ship. If you didn't do any marketing and didn't do any research and didn't do anything for your business until you were already losing money and to go out of business, there's no way we're going to save it. It's just we can't bail water fast enough for you, because now at this point on the downward slide, you also don't have any funds left. When the business was new and had funds, you decided to keep them all. And now that you don't have any funds, now there's nothing I can do to save that.
Right.
But I wouldn't necessarily say we're picky, because we don't necessarily worry about industry specifics or anything like that. We more look at the business as a whole. Is it well run? Is it somebody we want to be associated with? Do they have a proven product or service? Is it something that, are they going to be open to fixing? If we find, the website doesn't convert, yet they hired us for social media, are they going to tell us we're stuck with what they have? And we have a lot of conversation before we ever sign with a client, just to make sure that they're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for them. Right. And I mean, we still have occasions where it doesn't work out, and where we strike out, but at the same time, we try to do a lot of due diligence. And I think that's only fair for both sides, because for us to come on, essentially all we would be doing would be taking money from a sinking ship, knowing that it's not going to fix it. Right. And at that point, to me, I wouldn't feel good about that. So, but so I guess we've kind of always been that way. But as far as over the years, we really haven't changed very much. Like I said, we still do our research. We still spend a lot of time. I mean, I would say we probably spend with potential clients before we sign, and not everyone, but the ones we end up signing, we probably spend 4 or 5 hours in person before we ever sign them.
Oh, okay.
I mean, no, there's some that we meet for 15, 20 minutes on a video chat. No, it's not going to work. And we never talk again. Yeah. But if we actually sign them and we work together, we've spent hours together first on both sides to make sure it's right.
And that, I think, I mean, you mentioned before that you started this business while you had your day job. So did that contribute to that, because you had the luxury of having your income from your day job, but also then being picky and refining your process, so to say?
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, we talked about the first year, but we lost money the second year too. We didn't lose that much, but we lost a couple $1,000s in year 2. So if I wouldn't have had another income, I think I would, exactly what you were talking about, Chris. I would have been taking any money that could have came in. But I mean, literally, I spent 18 years in corporate. So I was at the tail end of an 18-year career. So my paycheck was doing okay. And, my wife's been a stay-at-home mom for years, even before I started the company. So it's, we lived very comfortably, and I was able to make, I think, for us, what turned out to be better decisions than, like you were talking about, where you just take anything that comes in. And I think sometimes that causes more problems. And I understand why. You don't really have a choice. You have to do what you have to do. But at the same time, if you're able to grow and make better decisions without money being the driving factor, it makes this job in this industry, in my opinion, much more survivable. Right.
Oh yeah, totally. I was not in a position to be picky when I started, because I was working a corporate job. Oh my God, this dog is like coming up. That's funny. Yeah, I had a corporate job, but I thought I was supposed to go back into corporate. So I was focused on getting another corporate job instead of building my business. And I think that affected me, because it took me like a year and a half to really be like, okay, this is where I need to be. And this is, and I'm still refining my process. So I think it can be done both ways. Success can be found both ways, but it is trial and error in the beginning. And I think people get, they fantasize about working their own schedules, and like having these cool things like golf trips and like vacations to like DC, which I'm going to be there next week. It's not a vacation for me. It's work, because I have to be on point. I have to be able to sell myself, sell my services and stuff like that.
Well, like this weekend, I didn't even have a 3-day weekend.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday I worked probably about 5 hours or so.
Yeah.
I was trying to take some time off yesterday.
I worked yesterday.
I feel like just every day I'm always doing something for the
Mhm,
business. It's
mhm.
not just, because if I work for a corporate company, I just have one role and that's it, and that's all I do. And then on the weekends, nobody's really working.
Yeah.
But I'm sure, like, or you might be working, but not
Speaking
a lot.
of, did you take this weekend off?
So no.
No. No. Simple answer.
So before I answer that though, so first I want to say kudos to you because it is different, and I think just knowing me, if I would have had to build my business the way you did, I probably wouldn't have done it because I wouldn't have put up with, if I had a client that didn't mesh or didn't fit, I wouldn't have worked with them. I would have ran out of money and I would have had to take another job. And I think that's, like you said, you can be successful both ways, but it takes a different kind of person because like I said, I don't know that I would have done it had I not been able to make the decisions that I made. If I would have been forced to work with like somebody I didn't like or didn't get along with, or a product or service that I didn't believe in, I probably would have quit my agency. So I say that, and I don't say it in jest. I mean, kudos to people that can take that time because it takes a special kind of person to be able to do that. But to answer your other question, this weekend, so you said you wanted personal. So my son ended up in the emergency room.
Oh my God.
He has pneumonia, and so this is the other disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I don't even pretend to be one on TV. I was under the impression that pneumonia was fluid in your lungs, and apparently it is not only fluid in your lungs. It is caused by a bacteria, and pneumonia is also contagious, which I didn't know.
Yeah.
I literally thought if you just got water in your lungs, like you would eventually, like pneumonia was halfway to drowning. I don't know. I didn't make it to med school. So, so my son was in the emergency room yesterday for 6 hours. Bless my wife. She took care of him and took care of all that.
Oh, wow.
But so that was how we spent most of our Memorial Day or Labor Day. And, but
wow.
yeah.
He okay now?
He's perfectly fine. He has antibiotics. He's home and running amok like he always does. He got to stay home from school today, so he was happy about that.
That was all in the plan.
That's right. He's like, if I get just sick enough that they let me stay home, everything will be okay.
He wanted a 4-day
weekend, yeah.
Right. And I tell him he's only in kindergarten. How hard can it be? Like you still get nap time and you still get to play. Like, come on.
They have no clue.
Bank these days for whenever you're in high school and you really don't want to be there.
Right. Exactly.
But no, I mean, from a work perspective, I think that's probably the one thing that I brought with me from the corporate world because of the long hours that I worked is I've been very diligent about how I spend my time. So like yesterday, and that's why I said no, but it's really not no, because I was off all day yesterday. And then my son went to bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock, and I worked for 2 hours last night.
Yeah.
I went in and did some paperwork. I finished payroll, little things. And I sent 1 or 2 emails for people to get this morning when they got into the office.
Yeah.
But I mean, is that work? I mean, I guess technically it is.
It is, yeah.
But I mean, I do that almost every day. I respond to an email here and there, but I do it from the golf course. I do it from the clubhouse. I do it from a cigar bar. I do it from, today I'm at Canaan Valley Resort in the mountains of West Virginia. I mean, technically I'm working.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Like Chris, you said you can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
And for me, coming from the 9 to 5 where you had to punch a clock, I don't think I work.
Yeah.
I mean, I get stuff done, but I don't work.
Right.
I mean, and I think you were talking about the iceberg. I think that's what people see, and they're like, "Oh, that's so great." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you still have to have the discipline to do it."
Yeah.
I don't make payroll. Like if I didn't do payroll last night, this whole thing still falls apart.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
it's not like people work for free.
Right.
So.
And you have to say, or at least for me, like I have to say no to going out a lot or doing things.
We need to work on that. He spends a lot of time. No, because he always says no because he's so overworked. I said you gotta scale back a little bit so you can grow. I think.
Yeah, maybe.
That's
another
another podcast. But
the thing is,
there are a lot of people that say that.
Yeah.
I feel like if I'm not doing something, I feel like I'm losing something. Like if I'm not working on something, then there's something in the back of my head where there's no time to relax. Like I always have to be doing something or else something's falling apart, or
Well, and I think we were talking about earlier, like the difference between me and Marissa. I mean, I think that's where me and you would differ too. Like to me, you hustle more, like you work to make sure you get everything and to be the best you can be, and you want to make sure you stay ahead of the game and ahead of your competition. And like I said, whenever I was in the corporate world, I cared about that. I worried about politics. I worried about making sure it looked like I worked harder than the other guy. And now I'm more goal oriented. If my clients are making money and their ROI is positive, then I don't feel bad about being here today and not being in the office and not looking at the things I need to look at, because everything, like I said, my team takes care of a good bit of it for me. And I know that there's no fires, and somebody would let me know. And as long as there's no fire, I don't have a problem being able to say, yeah, let's do that. And then now there are times where I would say, yeah, let's do that. And then I have to step away. Or, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example. So last Thursday, I was actually playing golf Thursday afternoon. We teed off at 2:00, and I had a client that had an issue, and she went on and she used my Calendly link. And at 3:00, she wanted to have a call. Now it was only going to be 5 or 10 minutes. And I didn't block it off because I didn't need to. So I literally just walked away. They teed off on the 5th hole. I took her call for 10 minutes and met him on the 6th tee.
Wow. That's awesome.
I just walked away and met him on the next tee. I mean, so I think that there's a little bit of both, because I do think you need to have that mentality of I'm going to go above and beyond and be the best that I can be. But at the same time, I think, at least in my opinion, once we've earned the right to be able to take some time, we should take some time.
Yeah.
Right.
But it goes by too fast. Like I said, I'm getting old now. So for me, like it's, especially after having my son, I've now made it a point to make that time.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think too, because I just started my business this year. I mean, this is my 5th business I've owned. Yeah, I think just when you're starting to launch your business, especially like, at least for me, like you had a complete different approach because you had a full-time job and you're working that world. But now, like, I have to hustle. I have to go out on weekends, network, work long days. But I don't mind it either. Like, I enjoy it. If I hated it, then if I hated something, I want to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So that's just my mentality too. I'm not doing this because I have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm doing it because I have to, but it's also fun.
Yeah, right.
Same time,
Well, it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah,
I worked yesterday too, and it was better because no one was bothering me, and I could set up my day for today.
There you go.
And I get my me time for like 2 hours a day, 2 to 3 hours a day when I go train.
That's good.
Then,
all right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap this up. My battery is gonna die soon. So, how do people connect with you, Mike, on social? What's the best platform?
So you can find the company anywhere at Problem Solvers with no O, PRBLEM Solvers, or you can find me. It's Mike Ruffing, RUFFING, on just about every platform as well.
Nice.
So I'm out and about, and I do still answer my own stuff. So when people send me messages, you might get the real me, which is always a win. You never quite know what I'll say. So
that's cool. Awesome. And are you coming back to Social Media Marketing World next year?
We will be there. It is 50-50 whether or not I will be there.
Okay.
I play in a golf tournament every March, and it's always the week after Social Media Marketing World. And this year, I believe the schedule is going to change for one or the other, and they may conflict. So I am on the fence, but I can promise you my team will be there.
Okay.
And maybe this year I can introduce you to Karen, because I think you would like her a lot. Yeah.
I definitely would love to meet her. I'm going to be an attendee next year, not a volunteer. So I'm excited to experience it as an attendee, because I've only been as a volunteer, which is completely different. So
yeah, very much so.
Yeah. So
I think you'll enjoy it. I like it. Like I said, for me, there's two, and it's off topic, but there's 2 conferences that we go to every year. And it's Social Media Marketing World and Content Marketing World in Cleveland. And I think they're 2 of the best conferences out there as far as actually getting training work and things that people can use to actually get better at what we do.
Yeah. And I know we're trying to wrap up, but I do want to say that, like, I'm making it a point for next year to go to conferences that are outside of the marketing world, because while I love learning new things, I feel that the people that really need us are at these other conferences. Yeah. So, and I'm going to one this weekend, or early next week, and it's military because I'm involved with a nonprofit that's started by veterans. So I'm going for that. So it's completely like military only conference, military focused on, and then I do trade shows with clients. So that's kind of fun. I'm doing a plastic surgery one in September. So
I might need to go to that one.
you might need to go to that one. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'll have to give you some feedback because it's like the targeted types of businesses, B2B, but it's a completely different experience, and you're not around marketing people, right? So like you have to see how it is, how it will be. So
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Mike. We will definitely put this up on our YouTube, or it's on YouTube right now, so you can go ahead and tell people to go to businessafpod.com and look for your show, and then hopefully we'll have you on again sometime soon.
Will do. Thank you both for having me, and I look forward to it. I'd love to come back whenever you guys need me.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Nice meeting you, Mike.
Bye.
Have a great day, guys. Bye, Chris.
Bye.
Oh, shit.